Sandia National Laboratories. You'd think it was a serious place. You'd hope it better be a serious place. They make nuclear weapons. But it turns out it's not a serious place. It's very much like Wesleyan. It's a woke factory. They recently sent their white male executives, and only the executives fitting that description, to a 3-day re-education camp to confront their privilege and deconstruct their white male culture. What is that exactly? Well, at taxpayer expense, we learned, this happened late last year, trainers said that the men in present must, quote, work hard to understand their privilege. They learned that the roots of toxic white culture are, quote, rugged individualism and hard work. What the hell is this? What does that have to do with making nuclear weapons? Chris Rufo has spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. He's a research fellow at the Discovery Institute. He broke this story. We're happy to have him tonight. Chris, thanks so much for coming on. Tell us what this was, what the point of it was, and whether it was mandatory.
Yeah, well, this was a mandatory program for white male executives where they were supposed to essentially break down their white male identity, confess their sins to diversity trainers. And at the end of this session, they actually had to write letters of apology to women and people of color based on what they learned about their own privilege. And it's nothing more than a cult indoctrination session that's based on critical race theory, something that is spreading like wildfire through our public institutions, and it's, almost more dangerous than the nuclear weapons themselves.
I agree with that. No one says anything about it because everyone's intimidated, but it doesn't take a complex thought experiment to imagine if they did this to any other group. I think all decent people would stand up and say, you can't attack people for how they were born. It's immoral. Why do we allow this kind of garbage to continue, this poison, at public expense?
Because this is really racism masquerading as anti-racism. I think it's really as simple as that. And I think through this kind of complex cultural construct that plays on human frailties and emotions and guilt, we've allowed this to really perpetuate all of our institutions. And I'm afraid that at this time, it is almost everywhere, from the smallest local school district in Tennessee or Kansas to the highest levels of the federal government. This is something that under the radar has just spread like wildfire, and I think it's important to call it out, and it must be stopped.
Good people have said nothing about this, and that's almost not an exaggeration. No one says anything. Let me just ask the most obvious question. Is this legal?
I've been talking to legal scholars, and there is a heated debate. I've heard from folks at the White House, within the Senate and the House. There is an investigation happening right now on this particular issue at Sandia Labs and other parts of the federal government. In my view, this is illegal. It's likely unconstitutional. It's a violation of people's civil rights. And I'll tell you right now, I'm declaring a one-man war against critical race theory in the federal government, and I'm not going to stop these investigations until we can abolish it within our public institutions.
I can't think of many things more important than that. I appreciate it. Chris, thanks so much for coming on.